Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. James B. Flaherty wants you to embrace your age. Today, he'll tell us why. James, thanks for being with us today.
I'm delighted to be here, Bill.
Now, you've written a book, Embrace Your Age. So we're going to exhaust you today and find out a lot of tips that all of us need to know about aging, because all our numbers are going up. I have no friends who have an age that's going down, so we need your help.
And I'll bet mine is more than theirs anyway.
Well, that's okay. You're the expert. Let's start off with, our show is The Secrets of Success. What is your definition of success?
That's always a wonderful question. I feel success is to be able to wake up every day, one, with a purpose, and be happy about what's coming ahead. My whole life, I really can honestly say that I don't think I ever went to bed, went to work thinking, oh God, here comes another day. I think success is being happy with who you are and what you are doing, especially if you feel you're doing something that you can share with others or that you can leave for another generation.
Oh, you made me feel good because I love this radio show. That's what I'm doing. And when I'm gone, people can still listen to it. Now, I want to ask you, though, over the years, now you're a man of experience and wisdom. Would you say that your definition of success has changed, or did you notice that over periods of years or maybe decades? What you wanted when you were 29 or 42 is different from now?
Oh, absolutely. We play many, many roles in our life, and we go through many transitions in our life. And when you're young, I'm a young husband and a young father, and I'm trying to climb up that invisible ladder. I started out in New York so far down, I couldn't see the bottom rung of the ladder. And your focus is on staying alive, providing for your family, being a good father. So your goals and your purpose and your reason for being changes drastically with age. And now I think for the first time in my entire life, and I am 89 years old, for your listeners, for the very first time in my life, I can wake up in the morning and not say somebody else's name first in my head, or my business, or my children. For the first time in my life, I can wake up and say, what does Jim hope to accomplish today?
But isn't that great?
Oh, it's incredible. I can't tell you the joy I have with that.
And I like that.
It's given me a whole new lease on life.
I wanted to go back to your definition when you talked about having a purpose. I think that's so important. And I always say that to friends as they get older, or if they're telling me they're retiring, especially if they're retiring at what I consider to be a young age, perhaps in their 40s or in their 50s. And I said, you've got a long time ahead of you. Make sure you have something that's keeping you going and you're not just, filling in the spaces each day. Now,
it kills me.
In your book, you have the expression, the band won't stop playing until you stop dancing. What does that mean?
Well, it's the same thing that George Bernard Shaw said it differently. He said, you don't stop laughing because you got old. You got old because you stopped laughing.
Oh, I like that.
And it's the same thing. The band won't stop playing until you stop dancing. So I'm saying, continue living. Do not retreat from life. I've heard too many friends of mine in their late 70s and 80s especially say, people that I knew were sticks of dynamite in their 40s, 50s, even 60s, saying, well, now I'm so busy. I said, doing what? Absolutely nothing. They're retreating from life. They're becoming a horrible statistic. And I'll be wrong with the numbers, but it's approximate. 60% of people over the age of 65 watch a minimum of 48 hours of television a week. And I think, good God, that's not life. That's being caught up in the traumas and dramas of TV rather than looking at life as it is.
Now, just to promote what you're saying, you have an interesting anecdote in a book about a friend of yours who's 83. And tell us what she just did.
Oh, it was great. She came by one day. We were good friends, we're good buddies, and she was dynamite in her younger years. She was a model, and she had a business, and she was just terrific. And I said, why are you looking frowning? And she said, oh, I'm thinking, I said, do you have any regrets in life? I don't think you do, because she's so neat and hip. She said, yes, I have a big regret, Jim. I never got a college degree. I said, what? So? She said, what do you mean so? I said, so what's stopping you? I said, go back to college. She said, I'm 83 years old. I said, go back to college. She did. She came to see me at the end of the first quarter, and she said, I'm having the time of my life. At first, the kids thought Grandma Moses had been reincarnated. And then they started, because I was asking intelligent questions in class, they started asking me to go to the library and study with them, and asking my advice even about men. And then she twirled around. She said, do you like the way I look? My girlfriends took me to the Gap. And I thought, this is incredible. She's not 83 anymore. She's 38.
Isn't that great, though? And I bet she's honestly, and I don't mean this as a joke, but the coolest kid on campus, because probably she's talked about when she's not there, in a good way, I mean, that people can't believe this.
In a good way. And she's a wonderful influence on those other students. They're going to say, golly, you mean one can grow old without dreading it? You know, I try to give that same feeling, that same thrill of living to other people. I say, it's not so bad being older. It's great. You've got time to do things that you didn't have when you were working to earn a living, when you were raising your children, when you were, all that stuff.
Yeah, no, and you don't have to get to the soccer game or the dance recital. You might as a grandparent or someone who wants to appreciate it, but there's so many benefits. And some more great news that we've had guests on the show who say, if you start looking, most people know someone who reached the age of 100 and over. And there are more and more people reaching that age. And to your friend's credit, she didn't just take a course. She took a 4-year commitment that she went back to college. And that's at 83. So she's definitely got positive thinking. She knows where she's going. And I really think the professors and the students are gaining a lot from her, just having her in the class with them.
Yeah, she's still doing it. She's actually going to finish up by the end of this coming fall, by November, December. And she's completely thrilled. It's great. Just being out there, being present.
Now, I copy down in a lot from your book. I've got several pages of notes, but one of them you say, ageism is an inside job. What is ageism, first of all, and what do you mean when you say it's an inside job?
Okay. Well, there is some outside influence in that some companies say, well, he's really getting along or she's getting along in years, and so might be smarter and better. But I think most of the problem is within the individuals. They are they're saying to themselves, well, I'm getting older, and maybe they don't think that I'm as sharp as I was. I look back on it myself, thinking I was a very good advertising creative director, a madman, if you saw the TV series, a corner office creative director. And I was really good at it in my 30s and 40s. And I thought, it's amazing, even though I'm not doing it, I would have been that much better in my 60s and 70s.
Really?
I would have been terrific at it then, because I knew more, and I knew more about what makes people tick, and I knew more about managing people. I would have, in many, many respects, I would have been better. And now companies are finding that out. They are starting to find, hey, they put them into mentoring the younger ones, bringing the wisdom of the ages to help the younger ones move along. A friend of mine, Chip Conley, who runs Modern Elder Academy, which is an organization I totally love, Chip was hired by the kids who started Airbnb when they started it. He was 52 and they were all like 26 years old. And they invited him in to teach them the hotel industry. And here he was as the mentor, but he was also answering to a 26-year-old.
But how great. I mean, honestly, and I hand it to those younger people because they knew there was someone there. He saw everything. And even if he had one tip, that tip could probably make or break them, literally. And they were confident enough not to be ashamed to do that or feeling like, hey, we're just the young guys, we don't know enough.
He built them. His wisdom of hospitality helped them build a better company.
I think that makes us all feel great. And Jim, before we go further, I'd like to stop for a second and let our audience know if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Our guest today is James B. Flaherty. His book is Embrace Your Age. And James, we're going to ask you, can you give us the website where we can get some more information?
You just about said it right there. My website is my name. It is James B, which stands for Bernard, but just put the B there. James B. Flaherty, FLAHERTY.com.
We're going to give that information. And one of the things I think for everybody who might want this book, it's about 150 to 160 pages, so it's not anything overwhelming. It's good size print, so if someone says, oh, I can't read anymore, or I can't read that small print, well, that's not an excuse either because you've written it in a size print where it's very comfortable to read, to go through.
14-point type. I do that on purpose.
I figured that. I know you're a smart man. But it also makes all of us feel good. And I think if we get one or two ideas, and we'll certainly get more, but someone getting an idea and saying, wait, I can do that. Or, hey, wait, this isn't just me feeling this way. This is the way a lot of people feel. I think it'll open us all up to a lot of achievements that maybe we stopped trying for. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. How do we get people to stop believing in ageism, that, a certain age puts you over the hill?
Okay. I'm going to go back to something that my late great mother taught me. She said, every morning of your life, you're going to have to face your biggest critic, your biggest enemy. It's that person in your bathroom mirror. And you can either look at them and moan and groan and say, good God, another day, or smile bravely and cheerfully and say, good God, another day, and go out there and hit it and beat it and have a purpose and have a goal. I make a list every night of the 6 or 7 things that I really want to accomplish the next day. And I leave it on my keyboard, or if I'm traveling, I leave it on the bathroom sink so I can find it, so that I can jump and do those things first thing in the morning. And then I feel, hot damn, I've had a good day anyway. I'll get it all done.
I appreciate it, and I also see what you're saying, and I have to admit that's part of my life. I'm not as structured as you are or as disciplined, but if I can get a few things, and I'm a morning person, done early, the exercise that I want to get in, and sometimes that's because it might rain later on, I'm outside, or taking care of a few bills, or some paperwork that just has to be done. Now I'm free for the rest of the day. And to me, that's like a mini vacation because I did my, in quote, work. So it's all done. And now I can do whatever I want for the rest of the day.
You also mentioned something, I'll be very quick about it. You said you do your exercise. Everyone should, as they are aging, stop the nonsense of, well, it doesn't matter at my age. I'm going to go on smoking, or I'm going to go on having 3 or 4 drinks a day, or I'm going to be, knock it off. If you really want to live long and get things done, you also have to take care of your basic machine. Eat proper. It's painful. I go to my pool and do 30 minutes exercise every morning.
James, one of your chapters starts off with the question, who was your bestie? And I thought that's a fun expression that you're using in there because to me, it's only come around the last few years. But can you tell us why that's so important and why that deserves a chapter in your book?
Okay. Every statistical study in the world shows right now that if you want to live a long time, the people who live longest and happiest are people with contacts with people around them. You cannot live a solitary life. If you do, you might live a long time, but it's sure as hell not going to be a happy one. It is having someone to talk to. That's why I tell people, if you want to be a really good person, think of the elderly people you know who are living alone and call them once a week just to say, hi, what are you doing? I was just remembering something we did 20 years ago. Get them to laugh and smile. Bring them back into the world. But you as an individual, you cannot afford to turn your back on the need to have good friends and associates and people you could talk to. It makes all the difference in the world.
You know, it really does. And I'm going to tell you, I had been in the hospital a few months ago, and it was something important, but not life-threatening. But still being in there, and even though when you're in the hospital, you're, a bit exhausted and they're testing you, et cetera, so you don't have the usual strength. Anytime I got a call or a message from someone, or even if someone came in and said, Joe was asking for you, and I can see the look on your face when I'm saying you're beaming, but that's the way I felt. Hey, wait a minute, I must still be important because Joe was asking for me, or Sally asked for me, or Joyce, or whoever. And it wasn't important whether they were the guy in the butcher shop, the bakery, the pizzeria, or if it was a close friend, obviously more likely the close friend because they know about what's going on in your life. But that is so true. And I think you just mentioned, if we can do a small thing for an older person in the neighborhood during the day, and whether it's just to go over there and drop off something they like, whether it's a fruit or a candy bar or an ice cream, or just see how they're doing, or when they take the dog for a walk, go out with them, we're going to enrich their life, but they're going to multiply it by enriching our life.
Absolutely.
You're a big advocate of reading. And I see that in your book, and you even take the excuse away because you go, if you're complaining that you can't see the print or something like that, basically you tell us go get an audiobook, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've gotten many friends who said, well, I can't see anymore. I said, wonderful. You're going to find the best books in the world are now on audio and sometimes recorded with really terrific voices, so that you can sit there in your favorite chair and hear great literature, whether it's novels or self-help or religion. It doesn't matter. It's all there.
And again, you took away the excuse most have, because I'm sure they're saying, and probably in many cases it is, eyesight is difficult, or problems with that. But are there favorite books, or even two or three that you might say, hey, if you read this book, you're going to feel different and you're going to act different? Are there any favorites that you have, or maybe even a publication, whether it's a magazine for older people?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to first name a couple of books that are in that category of not novels, it's not fiction. There's one called The Power of Purpose,
I love
by
that.
Richard Leider, and it's a wonderful book, and it's written very nicely about having purpose, having a goal in your life, and he explains it so beautifully. And I even went to a week-long workshop with that just to hear his wisdom and to study that book, and I think it's very worthwhile. Lately, I've just read one that I loved by Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote, you know her from her book, Eat, Pray, Love, which was a wonderful novel. She wrote a book called Big Magic, which is about living the creative life. And it's a beautifully written book. I mean, there are other, if somebody has died in your life, somebody important, everybody should read Joan Didion's book, The Year of Magical Thinking, because it may make you cry, but it's brilliant, and it brings it to your forefront on how to think about it.
I love those
books.
I love those ideas, and The Power of Purpose. I think that's another one. You said that early in the show, but I think if any of us can get hold of some of those books, honestly, they can really be life-changing. And as we said, if you're sitting there at 68 or 69 saying, well, I'm retired, so that must mean my life is over or there's not much left, more and more people are living past that 100 mark, so you're not going to get out of here too quickly. So you might as well enjoy it to the max and follow some of your advice. Jim, before we go further, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to let our audience know if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Today our guest is James B. Flaherty. He's the author of the book, Embrace Your Age, You Can Be Better Than Ever. And James, would you tell us the website where we can find out more information?
It is my name, James, initial B like boy, Flaherty, FLAHERTY.com.
And we'll ask you for
Flaherty.com.
We'll ask you for that one more time before the end of the show. So if someone didn't get it down or they're looking for that pencil, hurry up and get it. Get that pencil, write it down. Tomorrow you'll say, what was that show? And you'll forget. You use a term in your book, cultivating wisdom. Now, that's a new one. I haven't come across that, and we've been on for 35 years. What do you mean for that, and how does that enhance your life?
One of the things that I've learned very much, and I've studied it because, by the way, anybody who's been a caregiver for Alzheimer's or dementia, and I took care of somebody with dementia for 3.5 years. Boy, that really makes you reinvent your life. And I did a study, and the more if you were always learning something, it is very unlikely with age that you're going to slip into dementia. And you are never too old to learn. Just as my 83-year-old friend went back to college, I have 2 friends, I've got them studying Spanish right now. I said, it's a great second language for you. And they're really working on it. Because I lived in South America for 4 years. It was part of my work history. Lived in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So I still speak the language. So do my children.
I think we're all waiting for your biography to come out after some of the things we've heard. And I'm going to add to that in a few seconds with my next question for you. But I think you made a great point with that there. And as long as we can do that, basically it's like mental muscles. We're told that our muscle strength goes down about 3% a year as we get older. But at least if we do something, whether it's the simplest exercises or very light dumbbells, barbells, it doesn't have to be what younger people consider physical exercise, but at least we might maintain where we were. And I think that's what you're doing mentally with cultivating wisdom.
Yes, and also if you are living alone, I want you to think of volunteering for your church or hospital, taking a painting class, joining a book club. Find out what your local library is doing. They may have special events during the week so that you are not alone. You will have to go there and relate to other people. That's crucial to keep your own balance in life.
Now, you mentioned in your book part of your career was as an innkeeper. And I'd like to know, because you mentioned this, I think, in one of the chapters, that you learned a lot of very interesting lessons. And we can tell, obviously, from talking to you, you really get into things. You get behind the scenes. You don't just take what's on the surface. Can you share a couple of those lessons that might help all of us?
Yeah, I've always said that being an innkeeper was you had to be a group psychologist, psychiatrist. People were arriving for the weekend for a love weekend, a power play, to end a relationship, all kinds of reasons. And I had to figure out what it was and make sure that we were giving them what they wanted besides a sphere of smiling people, beautiful rooms, perfect food. It's very, very tough. I worked 70 hours a week to make that business work. And we started it when I was age 45. I left the advertising business to start a business I knew nothing about. I bought an abandoned stack of stone and created a country inn conference center out of it. And it became successful.
I think you have a lot of books in your brain there that one day when you saw dictating that could be coming out. But I never thought of it that way. And then I said, that would make an interesting play or a movie or what is it, movie of the week, show of the week, etc.
Right.
Just like what goes on from the innkeeper's view. Usually we see it from the people coming in. They either murdered somebody or they're getting married or divorced.
I'm a writer, folks. That's what I do for a living. I've written 4 books, 2 of them in my 80s, by the way. And I'm constantly writing, and being an innkeeper was great fodder because you're learning about people and characters and conversations and dialogue. It's terrific.
I told you before the show that you're the guy I want to sit next to on the plane, especially when they say there's going to be a slight delay, in quotes, slight. That can mean anything from 20 minutes to 2, 3, 4 hours. But if I was sitting next to you and said, you know what, Jim, you're really interesting. You seem to know a lot about many subjects. What advice would you give to me to live my life better and get more out of it? Okay.
I will. I was raised with the golden rule. And as I got older, I said, the idea is good, but as a writer, I thought the language was awkward. So I rewrote the golden rule for myself and my little girls, my daughters, my babies who are now 62 and 64.
Tell us what that is, by the way, because some people might not know. What is the golden rule?
The golden rule was started way before Confucius, as it is related now in the United States, says, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And if you lay that on a 4 or 5-year-old, they'll go, huh? So I rewrote it, just 5 words. You get what you give. And I would tell that 25-year-old on the plane, say, think of it this way. If you give a sympathetic ear, a generous heart, a meaningful smile, a loving hug, you get it back. If all you do is bitch and moan and complain and demand, that also comes back and bites you somewhere south of your belt line behind you. So it's very easy. Give good, you get good.
Jim,
it's a nice way to live.
I'm sorry. I love it. And I love ending it on that. You get what you give. And we always look for one takeaway that's simple. If someone wants to just take a few words from the show, if we're driving around and think that way, whether we let that person have the parking space, we give them a little more room to get through the intersection. You get what you give, and I'm sure it will come back. You've been a delight, and I knew this would be a fun show, but you far exceeded my expectations. Before we wrap up, one more time, the website.
James, B like boy, Flaherty, Flaherty. Thanks, friends. And thank you, Bill. It's been great.
It really has been a lot of fun. I'd like our audience to know that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we will continue our journey to success.